Okay, so tonight we are here talking about Outlander Blood of My Blood, the new series, episode one, Providence. It's written by Matt Roberts and directed by Jamie Payne. I'm Courtney Williams, creator and producer of Outlander Behind the Scenes. Uh, None of us have read this book. Um,
There's no book.
there's no book. There is a book being written about part of it, but yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this. And tonight I'm drinking some chamomile tea, weirdly, and my water out of my fancy spaghetti sauce jar, which I like because it's big in glass. Um, yeah, and so my brief overall impression. So, first of all, I went to the premiere, and because of having that experience, I already had a positive experience with episode one, because it was so great to be there and see all the OGs. And I didn't realize Sam was going to be there, and Diana, and Matt, and Meryl, and then Graham was there. That was fun. And then all the newbies. So it was cool. And then watching it in the theater was really cool. I couldn't wait to then watch it at my house like I do with my iPad with my headphones. Um, yeah, so I liked it. I thought it was entertaining and good TV, and I'll talk about specifics later.
I am Catherine Toomer. I am a family physician, so I will be talking a little bit about the medical anatomy, but I leave the anatomy to the expert, Carmen. Um, Actually, I came to Outlander by way of Blacklanders, and I'm not drinking anything right now because I haven't had my shot of tequila because that was my plan and I forgot. So we might take a little break, and then if I come back a little bit happier, you'll understand why. Okay. That's my latest drink of choice is tequila neat. Um
Nice.
Anywho, um my overall impression was that it was way better than I expected. I enjoyed it a whole lot more. The trailer did it such a disservice. And the trailer made it seem like it was a carbon copy of Outlander, and I was not looking forward to seeing it. And it absolutely is not. So, actually, my overall impression was that it's pretty good. I think that because of Outlander, it might even start off a little better. I don't know where it's going to go after that, but I think it started pretty strong.
Hi, everybody. This is Antoinette here, and I'm drinking tea out of my cup because I feel like garbage. But I'm here because I love my ladies. And, oh, who am I? Okay, I'm a prosecutor, and the Outlander universe is very important to me. And so when the prequel was announced, I wasn't too excited about it, if I'm honest. But I watched episode one, and overall, I thought it was well done. I thought it was good TV because, if anything, these showrunners have perfected over the years is how to put on a good TV show. There are, some things that I found a little, but overall, I think it was good TV.
Wow.
My name is Carmen Schmidt, and I'm a retired professor of human anatomy. My specialty was gross anatomy, microscopic anatomy, embryology, and neuroanatomy. And over the years, I've taught about 10,000 medical students and helped them along their chosen path in life, which I consider to be a great honor. And I'm an Outlander fan and have been since the get-go. And I've read all of the books. And as has already been said, the books aren't represented here. And I am drinking sparkling water tonight with a little bit of lime. Episode 101 uh, Kathy took the words right out of my mouth. It was better than I was expecting, much better than I was expecting. I think I agree, whoever said because of the trailer. I think the trailer didn't do its job. Now, maybe it did for people who were either new to the series or not book readers, but for me, the trailers didn't help it. They didn't really excite me. But this was a really was an that was an episode I could get into. It was full of Easter eggs, which I thought was really fun. I would give them both four stars, at least 4 stars.
Right on. Okay, let's dive in.
My favorite scene in episode 1 was when Ellen and Brian first met in the stables. And especially, again, it's kind of hard because a lot of the scenes that I really liked are because they paralleled scenes in Outlander. And so it was nice to see the parallels. On one hand, it was my favorite, but on the other hand, if I didn't think about Outlander, I wasn't annoyed thinking, they kind of they were a little self-indulgent, if you ask me. But
Say more about that. What do you mean?
well, I think that the idea of this and having Matt directly, having Matt written, having Matt, it just felt very self-indulgent. And so that was my impression when I saw all the beginning. But I quickly forgot that. And so I was able to enjoy it. And so by the time I got to that scene is when I really was into the story. So that's probably why it was my favorite.
Probably the scene between Jacob and Ellen, that very first one between Jacob and Ellen. There was real emotion there. There was a real connection. It's genuine. And so that whole father-daughter dynamic, I enjoyed seeing how they portrayed it. So that very first scene between Jacob and Ellen.
Was that the one where
By
he
the
gives her
river,
the brooch? Yeah.
when he gives her the brooch and the pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice
I
one.
like that a lot. And it was wasn't it by a river, brook, stream, something? Yeah.
Yes, it was. That's
Yeah.
right.
So
It was the
there was
Larry Stream.
there was, I mean, is that the, I suppose they can't help reusing locations that were used in Outlander because this is supposed to be Castle Leoch, so maybe my annoyance with all the harking back is unjustified because these things are happening in the places that they happened in Outlander, so they can't avoid some of that.
Yeah.
But I like that scene.
Okay. My favorite scene was the one with the little boys watching Dougal have sex with the woman that he picked up at the shinty game. Partially because those little boys are the son of Stephen Walters and Grant O'Rourke, respectively. They are playing young Angus and young Rupert, which I just thought was brilliant. And so I found it adorable. That was probably my favorite scene.
You found them watching adorable, or you found the sex adorable?
The sex looked terrible and painful. I didn't really care what they were watching. I was focused on the boys, just looking in, just the boys being in a scene, and I was looking forward to that. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, they're so cute. And you know that when they filmed that, they didn't have them watching that or anything like that. They're just reading a script. I did think, how's that going to work? Are they going to, watch that? I want to see what I was in and their friends and stuff. I don't know. I don't know
Maybe
how
they'll
they are.
send him an edited version.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was I had a lot of favorite scenes, but that's the first one that I'll mention.
Well, Antoinette and Kathy took my two favorite ones, but my third favorite that I would like to say from episode 101 is I was really touched by the washing of Jacob's body and his preparation for his funeral, and his subsequent burial, although Ellen wanted to put him out to sea, apparently, um, but they decided to bury him instead. But it was very well done. And that is exactly how bodies were handled in that time. Most people died at home, and the family prepared the body, washed it, and dressed it, and it was a very solemn occasion. I liked the music very much. The Gallic music was
Mhm.
really, really haunting, and I thought that was superb. So I have to say I really enjoyed that, not because it was joyful or anything like that, but because it was I felt a really poignant um, uh, illustration of how they would have cared for their laird and their father in those times. So I liked what happened there.
Agree. I thought it was a great way to open. It was a really great opener.
Really.
The opening song, the new opening song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Just super.
I mean, the trailer made it seem like they were going to start with the boat song, and I was like, if they do that, I'm turning this off. But they didn't. But that's how they gave the impression that it was like a copy of like it was Outlander with a new cast. That's what I thought it was going to be.
yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was very pleasantly surprised.
Okay, next favorite scene, Catherine.
Next favorite scene was watching the kilt being pleated for Ellen and then her being dressed. That was there were so many favorite scenes, but that was probably the one that I always liked. That the ceremony, the tradition of that just seemed very it just seemed very important, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Carmi mentioned that opening sequence with the dressing of the washing and dressing of the laird. I thought was very well done. It wasn't maudlin, it wasn't over dramatic, it was matter of fact and so made it so very real. So I really enjoyed that. But the other one I liked was, excuse me, um, Brian and Lord Lovat. I like that. I think that relationship is going to be fun to watch if we see a lot of it. They played off each other excellently. And the guy who's playing Lord Lovat is a really rank old scunner.
Yeah. Rank is a good.
I really, really like all of that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm hoping to see more of.
That was on my list too. Both of those, the washing and the Lord Lovett. Man, I think that guy is named Tony Curran or Curran. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but he really brought it as that character, in my opinion. And yeah, that was good to watch. And I enjoyed Brian and Myrta, just the light scene. I'm picking light scenes. When they were talking about going to the gathering, it was just they're young and playful, and I just enjoyed that scene a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'll finish this off maybe with I enjoyed the chess game between Ellen and her father, Jacob, old red Jacob. And, he was complimenting her on all of her traits that are very much like him. And so she beat him.
Yeah.
let him pay the price for that, and showed him just how how ruthless that she could be. She wasn't going to let him win because he was her father. And I thought that was very well done. I thought all of the scenes um, between Ellen and Jacob were just really believable and well done. And his affection for her really came through in those. He genuinely was proud of her, and you know, recognized her strengths.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Don't you think he would make an amazing Santa Claus?
Yeah. Yeah, but he doesn't look like that in his photo, in
Oh,
his professional photo. He looks very much younger
oh,
man than that. So
okay.
I think they colored his beard or something
Yeah.
to make him look older.
So let's go to um, what worked for you, Catherine.
What worked for me was the relationship between Ellen and her father and the subsequent development of her personality from that. Um, she was she was very self-aware, very self-confident, very clearly had high self-esteem, was very intelligent, very wise, and a lot of that I'm sure became from her having the relationship. Of course, you don't wish chicken or the egg, but from what he said, it was the moment she was born, he felt this
Yes.
about her. So that means what he poured into her turned her into who she is. And it was just very, as someone who is a self-described daddy's girl, I really, really resonated with that relationship to the point where it actually made me miss my dad
Hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
And what worked especially for me was the reintroduction of Scotland as a character in the show. Oh, the scenes when the burial procession was coming up. And I just looked at it and I said, so the use of Scotland as a character really, really worked for me and helped to hold me in and sustain my interest. And for the most part, I thought the pacing of the show was good. There weren't any parts where it lagged and I lost interest because it was being well paced. I mean, there are parts where I lost interest because I didn't care about the characters, but that didn't have to do with the pacing of the show. So the pacing of the show really worked for me.
I'm gonna say the music. The music. I just Bear is a genius, and this music was almost a level up from Outlander. I don't know. It was just when I got home, was here and watched on my iPad with my headphones in, I was just like, oh, the music. Yeah.
I had the music too.
So the other thing that worked for me was the lighting. They used candlelight again. Um, so it really gave that, feeling of being back in the 1700s, which has kind of gone away in Outlander because they don't use they're kind of using modern lighting, more modern lighting than they actually have at the time. So I appreciated that they went back to that. That really worked for me.
Um, I'm going to go to the opening, uh, not the title card, but the opening images that we see. One of them that really struck me is that if you look closely, you see the men who are going to try to steal the kine running through the forest, and they have their gunny sack mask on and so forth. And then as they're running, it segues into men running in World War One. And that's really cleverly and very subtly done. And I was impressed with that idea that
Yeah.
they segued that way because it's almost seamless. It just
Mhm.
streams from one into the other. And I was very impressed with not only the idea, but the presentation of what they were uh, doing there. And I was impressed with that. The other one that I would like to say is that um, Colum came across to me as more ruthless in his youth, and Dougal came across as more aggressive in his youth. And by the time we see them, when Claire meets them some 20 years or so later, they are quite a bit more sophisticated in there. I mean, Colum is still sly. I'm not saying that. And Dougal is still willing to kill somebody, if he, like Jeremy, Officer Jeremy. Um, but I just think the portrayal of them in their youth is probably fairly accurate because it takes a few years for people to figure out how they're supposed to move through the better way to move through life. And I think both of them do mature some as we see them later in Outlander. So I liked very much that. I thought that was very realistic to have them shoot a little bit more forcefully for each of them in that direction and then pull back as they did a little bit in more mature presentations of themselves.
Again, you already mentioned the music. One of the things that, of course, I was looking for the walls, but I got was brick. So
Yeah, and
that's
stone.
stone.
Yeah.
It. But no, but what did work for me was a combination of what Antoinette mentioned was this using Scotland as scenery, but also the buildings, just the capsules and the homes and how they were very distinct but very grand in all aspects of what they showed. And I thought that was it seemed very the histories it I have to figure out another word for heavy, but it just seemed very
Weighty.
yeah, weighty is a certain way, but it was just it wasn't something to be taken lightly. I guess that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because when you saw it, it meant something and it showed something, and it wasn't just, oh, this is pretty. It was something more than that. And that's what I thought. That's what worked for me as well.
Okay. By the way, little insert here. This was a gamble because I didn't know how this was all going to be received or even how much was going to
Mhm.
show, but we're going to Lord Lovett's castle as one of our stops
Oh, wow.
on the Outlander Meets Shakespeare tour.
Was that Bewley?
So nice.
No, it's the one that they showed
Feathers.
that yeah,
Leathers, Castle
it's
Leathers?
not called that in real life. I have to remember it's like I'll have to look that up while we're talking. But anyway, kind of fun.
Cool.
That
But
might
yeah,
help.
other thing that worked for me, I liked the casting of Colum. I thought the actor really, really got the essence of that character, his struggles with his physical limitations, and the fact that he has to use his mind and his wit and his other strengths because of what he lacks physically. His mannerisms reminding me a lot of Colum that we know from Outlander, but they're much so. But it was subtle. It wasn't. He didn't try to imitate him to the point where it became like a caricature. So the casting of Colum really, really worked for me. And also the casting of the Murtaugh character. I saw that sly humor. There's just something there that brought me back to the Murtaugh we came to know and love. So I could actually see how this Murtaugh would grow into that character that we all love. So those two castings really worked for me.
I have casting in general. I think it's Suzanne Smith and Team Simone Pier. I can't remember her last name, but Pierian, maybe. But I thought all the casting was brilliant for I did. And I'm excited to hear what you didn't like. But yeah, I was just like, wow, they're back with the casting. Um and it's most of the original team.
Mm.
And I think I have this thought that they have this up and running. So this is like a continuation of Outlander, right? With all the team,
Mhm.
but it's Blood of My Blood. And then I'm hoping Sam and Kat have time to go do other things, and then they'll come back and do book 10, and they'll still have that whole team up and running, and they'll just drop in.
Let's hope so.
That,
That
that's
would be
my
good.
that's my
That would
hope.
be good.
It was believable to me that Julia, the Hermione Cornfield, could be Claire's mother. My gosh, there's a lot they look alike. Their noses are similar, their mouths are quite similar. They both have very long swan-like necks, and their eyebrows are quite similar. And I could believe that she was her mother. So that comes back to casting to a great deal. Excuse me. I'm like Antoinette. Anything that had the young Murtaugh Rory in it was just pleasurable. Uh, I mean,
He's hot.
he's just
Say
a
it.
little
Just say it. He's
gem.
hot.
He is hot.
He was just just so
Something. Yeah.
charismatic. I mean, he
He
just
he
barely
was
said
oozing
anything, and you were
sexiness
like, "Oh,
for
I'm
sure.
I'm a fan."
So charming. And let me tell you, he does not drop that in real life.
Why
At
would
the
he?
Nothing.
at the premiere. Well, some people, kind of turn that stuff on, and then
Oh,
but they're
yeah.
actually shy. No.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a good one.
So let's go on to least favorite scenes.
Honestly, my least favorite scene had nothing to do with the show itself.
Okay.
My least favorite was the trailer. I was so annoyed that they put that junk out, making it seem as if it represented what I watched. It didn't at all. I was so prejudiced against the show before I watched it because of that trailer. And then when I watched the show, it didn't resemble it even closely. And so that was my least favorite. I just felt like they misrepresented and in a way almost disrespected the episode by putting that junk out. I didn't have anything that I didn't like about it.
That's great. I didn't watch the trailer. I'm glad now.
Yeah, I'm so surprised. It shocked me because I was like looking, I had it written out, see, and I have nothing written there. Least favorite, nothing. I have nothing
That's
written. And Jeanette's like, that's not
A-
me.
Antoinette, do you have a blank
Okay.
do you have a blank
Where do I
spot under least favorite?
where do I begin? Okay. I did not like the scene with Ellen and the maid who later we found out was Mrs. Fitz, a younger Mrs. Fitz, because it was incongruous that she would be having such an intimate, detailed conversation about the lairdship, about all the things that are going on with the clan with this person who was her maid. So, and also, I know they have to give us the backstory and fill things in because they didn't have the base of the books to start off with. So it was just too wordy. It was just too much filling in and backstory and all of that that just elongated the scene unnecessarily. So that was my least favorite scene. I loved the putting on of the plaid, but aside from that, I just wanted to say, will you all just shut up? Stop talking. Stop right now. Stop talking. So that was my least favorite scene.
Okay.
That's cute.
I actually had that as one of my favorite scenes, just for the record. And I just want to say, don't you think an only, oh, she did have sisters that she could talk
They
to.
were all younger than her, though.
Yes,
Yeah, but I mean, don't you think maybe she would confide in her lady's maid? I bet you that
I think she
happened.
would have.
but I
In
mean,
the
Didn't
role
have
of
her
Mrs.
mother was
Fitz, she was
dead.
like she ran the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
listen,
Her
I
mother
didn't
was
So I'm
know
dead.
assuming it came from somewhere.
when I was watching the scene, I didn't know that that was Mrs. Fitz because my note
Ah,
said,
that's true.
No.
You
I
don't know
didn't
who the
like the
characters
scene
are
with
at
the
first.
maid. Was she supposed to be a young Mrs. Fitz?
Yes, she
Yes,
was.
Right?
she was.
Also, it doesn't, if it was, then it might be more believable that
Yeah.
Ellen would have such an in-depth conversation. But
Yeah.
even still, even though it turned out to Mrs. Fitz, some of the things that they were discussing, about the future of the clan and all the political and all of that, I would have, I no, I'm sorry. It was just not believable to me.
Okay. And they're relatives, right? They're distant relatives
Yeah.
because Murtaugh is a Fraser
Mhm.
and oh, but they're Mackenzies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're not, Ellen and her are not relatives.
Okay.
No.
Okay, well, um, let's see. Carm.
You're next, aren't
I'm
you?
next. No,
Yeah.
I already went.
You
Did I
did?
go? I didn't
No,
go.
no, it
No, you
didn't.
didn't go.
You're number 3.
Okay, sorry. My least favorite scene was when Dougal beat up Malcolm Grant. I just I don't know. I found that first of all, and you guys who haven't seen episode 2 won't know this, but Archbug is pretty formidable and he was just kind of hanging back during that scene. I
Mhm.
don't know, it just felt a little not as realistic to me, that scene. But
Well, I mean,
I had to kind of dig because
well,
I really liked this episode and the I liked it more the second time.
I did
It
too.
was like, oh wow, this is a really good scene. Oh wow, this is a really good scene. But that one I found
mm,
kind of
well, what annoyed me about that scene was that there was no continuity. It didn't make sense how it unfolded because they said they hadn't seen her since the morning with Malcolm Grant. And so they hadn't seen him either. So they would have left in the morning. And then in the evening, you have Dougal and his men running after them. How could they catch up with people who had ridden off on horseback from in the morning? And they just ran after them and caught up with them. Made
they're fast.
absolutely no sense. Fling them on horses, let them catch up with them that way. But to see and they,
No, but
they're
they
running
didn't leave in the morning though, because the Tenshel was in the afternoon,
in the
right?
morning. No, the Tinchel was in the morning
Was it?
because yeah, it was in the morning.
Okay.
Well, we
And
don't really know
if
when
you
they left. We know when Malcolm Grant turned around and went, saw Ellen uh, walking away, and he knew then that he was not a viable suitor. But we don't really know when they left Castle Leoch.
I'm just saying no. Mm-mm. And if you watch them running and coming onto that ledge, go back and watch that spoof of Robin Hood. Robin Hood Men in Tights. If you go back and watch that scene, they look just
Well, it's
so
just
it
yeah,
was
and the fact that they
ludicrous.
just ran down and pulled him off his horse, they would be these are the Grants. They would be more
Exactly.
watching out and I don't know. And
So my least favorite scene actually was the sex scene between Julia and Henry on the blanket. I thought that was really jarring that our introduction to Claire's parent should be in that kind of a private moment. And I actually would have preferred that, not that I have a problem with the sex scene, I don't, as you all know, but it's placement, here we are going through all of this drama and everything, subtle underpinning broiling emotions and everything and power struggles that's going on at Castle Leoch. And then all of a sudden, here they are on this blanket. They're they're having sex. And I did not think it was convincing, the sex scene either. I thought, where is their intimacy coach? Because she's like, they both finish and then they're like, I'm famished, and they're just, well, that's not what happens. I'm
Although I
sorry, but
think
it's
that
not.
was a one. It was a throwback to Jamie and um
Claire?
Claire.
Claire.
Well, they
Jamie
could have
and
been
Claire
Mary
from
or
that scene when shortly after they got married. Then there was also the fact that when I was watching, I thought it was them reproducing Claire and Frank
Frank.
because I didn't know who the characters were. I just saw
Oh.
the curly hair and I was like, oh, this is Claire. So when they kept mentioning Claire, I'm like, wait, if they're not Claire, who are you? And then it took me a minute to realize, oh, that's her parents.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought that was jarring and an unconvincing sex,
Well,
where they
becau-
both came to orgasm, and then within seconds afterwards, they're like chatting like they were in the grocery store or something.
Well, and there were
and
no parts sticking out either.
no, everything was tidily covered.
Right afterward. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I wasn't.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
the
that
sec-
scene could have been done better. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
I mean, I found that transition to that sex scene extremely jarring.
Yeah,
And it took me out of the story.
me too.
And then the sex itself, I agree with Carmi. Yeah, it reminded me of the stable sex scene. How
Yeah.
it just
Really.
didn't work,
That
Yeah.
horror
wasn't believable,
show.
wasn't convincing. So that brought back lots of bad memories.
Actually, this was better than the stable, in my opinion.
You think so?
Yes.
I just kind of feel like it's interesting. I think part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because of Outlander. If I hadn't watched Outlander, I would have been like, there would have been nothing to invest me in the story.
Right. For sure.
It was just fun watching all the different people coming up. Anyway.
I didn't like that sex scene with Dougal and whoever it was. It was horrible. Why? I saw it and I said, why is this here? It's like it's time for a sex scene and they just plunked it in.
I
It
think
was
they were just
unnecessary
showing.
and superfluous.
I think they were just showing what his character and how he didn't have any regard for her at all.
No,
And
she
he's
was
just
an object.
Yeah, and he's just banging away, and that's Dougal. And that's why I think they put that in there and for a cute scene for the boys.
But I mean, when you say that, then that brings me to something that I didn't like, which is I didn't like the characterization of Dougal. They have made him in this portrayal so brutish.
Yeah.
And yes, Dougal is brutish in a lot of ways, but I didn't like how brutish he comes across. He comes across as a brutish dolt.
Yes, he
And
does.
He
yeah.
was. I mean, he was
And
younger
Dougal-
than when we saw him in Outlander, though.
I'm
He
sorry.
was much younger, so he was just like young and full of testosterone at
Yeah.
that point. When we saw
Well,
him later,
I
he
don't
was
know.
much older.
The thing I thought was incongruous was how complete disregard and disrespect he had for Colum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe that grows when he sees his brother as a leader because he's the type of guy who wouldn't respect someone with a handicap, right? So
Mhm.
maybe
Or it
that's
came later because he realized that his brother had so much more power over him.
Yeah.
So he just sucked it up.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be appeased because of what title he's given,
Right. Right.
because he's given some power in that castle and in that
Yeah.
clan. Dougal is. He's not just a younger brother. He has more stature than that.
Well, and then,
very
but the
much.
thing is, that was also calculating on Colum's part. If you remember from Outlander, he gave him that title so he would be away a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
He would always be away.
Mm-hmm.
If
I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
It's probably
yeah.
from the show and not the book,
collecting rent and stuff.
Mhm.
But I don't remember him saying, or anybody saying that he was being sent away because he would be, get him out of there.
It was either an explanation. It came up at some point. Either
It
was
was
him
alluded
explaining it to
to
Claire
or
or
something.
somebody
Yeah.
saying it at some point that was it was very calculating on Colum's front.
I remember that.
I was just gonna say that that scene was my second least favorite, the one with Dougal and the lady from the shinty game and the two boys watching. Didn't think they needed to put them in there. They could have put them in a later episode. There was so much packed into this episode
Yeah.
that I just felt that was, oh, here's an Easter egg. You remember these two, here they are as boys. And I just don't think it needed that in this episode. It already had plenty of drama and intrigue and all other kinds of things going on in it. So I thought it was superfluous, and yeah, I didn't really care to see Dougal the way he swived that lady,
Doogling her.
doogling her.
Oh, God.
Very good, Courtney.
Okay, let's move on to what didn't work.
Well, what didn't work for me again was the trailer, giving the
Okay.
false impression of what the show was about. Because I went in very prejudiced and I actually ended up enjoying it. So that's what didn't work for me. Whoever edited that did a very poor job.
I'm guessing it was somebody at Stars.
Yeah, but
For the most part, the transitions worked, except that transition to Claire's parents. That was too jarring and took me out of the show. I didn't like the whole gathering with but I mean, I suppose they have to show it because it's a gathering, so we know that these things go on. But it was just, for me, no, let me draw that back. There are a couple of things that I didn't like, which I felt was harking too much back to Outlander and trying to piggyback on Outlander, which I thought was lazy and unnecessary. I don't know why they had Brian Fraser talk about chickens. Come on, really? That is too on the nose.
Well,
Come
Yeah.
on. No.
wait. Actually, well, I could say it later, but actually, that was an Easter egg, in my opinion. Don't you
It
remember
was.
Jamie telling Claire that he was bound up and thrust taken away by
Yeah.
Black Jack Randall, and he was riding with a chicken?
Chickens are not good
They're not.
company.
Yeah, so I thought it was an Easter egg.
No, I didn't like it. I thought it was too on the nose.
I did laugh out loud in the theater at the premiere. I was the only one.
Because you got it.
Yeah, when that line happened, I laughed. And then I was like, oh. It was a bunch of really young people, so I don't know.
I mean, I didn't like that. It was, so that didn't
What's
work.
the other one
There
you were
were
going to mention?
a few other things that were harking too much back to Outlander that I felt were a bit lazy. But then I realized that they're using the scenery that is available. I didn't like the fact that the conversation with Ellen and Jacob took place by a river, stream, whatever, because I remember the scene with Larry and Jamie looked like it was by the same stream.
Yeah,
I'm
sure
saying,
did.
yeah, and I'm saying it's like they don't have confidence in their show to stand on its own with all these not so subtle, references and harking back to Outlander. So, it's just too on the nose, too plain. And yeah, Outlander fans, here's a bone for you. Please watch our show. No.
Okay.
No. That will make me not want to watch the show.
Okay. So I just had one thing that didn't work for me. I felt there were maybe just one too many scenes establishing the relationship between Ellen and Red Jacob. Like the last one when he's like, if only you had a cock. I just it was just a little too much for me of And I do realize that there's no books for you to fill in with your mind, so they're trying to establish these characters. Um, yeah, but I could have done without at least one of those. And then I'll just mention too that again, this is in comparison with episode 2, which I've already seen, and I think this could be because of the way that Diana is writing the prequel, that it's kind of Ellen centered, but the second episode is very balanced and shows you both sides, both the father and the mother and their stories and how they come together. And I was like, we're keeping the tradition of just focusing on the woman. That it wasn't as balanced. It was all about Ellen, and then Brian was kind of like in there, you know? So I was just curious about that decision. And it wasn't that it didn't work for me, but kind of as comparison, I thought, oh, interesting. Maybe they're trying to go along with how Diana's portraying it because there is a book uh, that's about Ellen Mackenzie primarily, and then how she meets Brian and etc. But and then the other part is so much more balanced. It's just something that I noticed and kind of wondered about.
I thought the casting of Brian Fraser is good. He is very, very good. And I could see the chemistry between him and Ellen. That was believable. Their eyes, that was really believable. Oops, I said I was gonna end on a positive note, but I'm not interested in Claire's.
You're
I'm
not.
sorry.
You're not.
Oh, but it ended. But I'm not interested in Claire's parents. They didn't grab me. I suppose we only saw them briefly, and
Right.
we saw more of Ellen and Brian. But I'm hoping that that will get better and that I will find their characters interesting.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is that Henry Beauchamp is the grant's advisor.
Yeah. Yeah, you see how that all comes about in
Yeah.
episode 2.
I found that interesting. So that got me.
Wasn't it the same
I
actor?
perked up.
Yeah,
it's
he.
the same actor.
Yeah.
It's the same person.
Yeah.
Remember that Ned Gowan says to him one day, you have to tell me, oh, you ended up in Bonnie, Scotland.
And Lord Lovett's maid is Julia.
Yeah.
Oh,
And episode 2 is going to show you how that came about.
happened. Okay.
Right.
So that intrigued me.
Before you take off, did we have any legal from this episode, or is it mostly in
Not
this?
really. It was all the whole machinations of the choosing of the laird and
Right.
and how that Ellen couldn't be appointed laird because, to put it indelicately, as Jacob did, she doesn't have a cock. And so it is not the kind of hierarchical succession where it goes to the eldest, which is different from how it would go, say, in England, when, they're talking about succession and accession to the throne.
Didn't that just change recently with the...
No, I'm talking historically.
Oh.
I'm talking historically. Because the only reason that Elizabeth ended up on the throne is because Edward VIII's little sickly son died, Edward. And so I found it fascinating that in this feudal clan society, it was a democratic process where the people chose who their laird was going to be. I mean, the choice was between Colum and Dougal, but it was a choice. They had a choice. And laird wasn't foisted on them because they happened to be the eldest son. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies.
It sounded like they could have chosen someone else other than those two
Exactly.
men.
So that is true as well. So I found that very, very interesting.
Would anybody be eligible though?
I think they have to be a member of the clan, but remember Jamie
exactly
in
would have been considered as well,
he
even though he wasn't
considered.
a son of Red Jacob.
Right.
It was about who been best. So yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And anyway,
Okay,
ladies,
you
I'm gonna
go.
love you and leave you.
Okay, thank you for coming,
Bye.
and we'll see you next
Don't say
Monday.
anything bad after I've gone.
Bad.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Love
We love
you.
you.
I
Bye.
love you too.
Okay, so I think we are, or Carmen, did you have anything else that didn't work for you, or you already said?
I didn't get to say anything yet about it.
Sorry.
That's okay. I want to know why, after Julia and Henry had their car accident,
Sorry, I'm
why
trying to
didn't
keep
they
us.
walk back up to the road they had driven on? Their car, it wasn't that far from where the deer, caused them to go swerve off the road and go into the stream. They climbed right back up on the stream. They could see the road from where they were. Why
Yeah.
didn't they go back up there and walk back the direction they had come? Instead, they go traipsing across the countryside. That didn't make too much sense to me. They had to get her to the stones, so I understand
Right.
that. But how did she end up in 1714? She was in 1917. Both
Yeah.
of them were in 1917, and they end up. And by the way, Claire is born the next year in 1918. So
But they were talking about Claire like she's already born.
Yeah, born and waiting for another sibling.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I figured she'd be about 6. So it must have been about 1924. So I'm saying that she went back to 1714 from about 1924. Why did she go back so far? Because usually it's 200 or 202 years that they go back.
Who was she thinking of? I mean, it's clear why
Yeah, he makes sense
he
because he
makes
was,
sense
yeah.
following her,
But
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 what
why
was
would she go back so far? That's much
who?
further
Because she
than,
was thinking of somebody. Who was it?
not necessarily. Well, yeah, because if
If they don't go 202,
then and
then
they're
they're
thinking of
thinking of
somebody, they're
somebody.
guiding somebody, and I don't know. So that crossed my mind that didn't really add up
Interesting.
to me. It doesn't show how Henry went through the stones. He's standing there and he looks at the big stone, and then the next thing you know, he's in the same time period as Julia is. So presumably he touched the stone, the big one, and then traveled himself, which means they both have time traveling genes.
Right.
Oh, so the so-called car accident wasn't actually they didn't actually die in the car accident. They just
Well,
disappeared.
she might think
They
they did. I don't
Yeah.
know if they'll ever
No,
see
They
each
Claire
probably
other
just
again.
assumed
definitely.
that they went down the river or
I
something.
know, and in the books it said she says they died in a car accident. So I
Right.
don't know if
Mhm.
she's ever going to see them again. And here
Mhm.
Julia's pregnant.
Yeah, it's going to be
So
interesting.
yeah, it'll
So
be
Claire has a
interesting.
brother potentially, unless that child dies.
Or a sister.
Do you think it's Master Raymond? No, I'm kidding.
No, but some people have thought maybe it's the mother of oh
Faye?
Faith,
Uh,
or
Mm.
not Faith, but the mother of
Fanny?
Fanny, the grandmother of Fanny.
Okay. Hmm.
Some people have suggested that. I saw that online.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Anything else that didn't work for you
No.
guys? I didn't have anything else. Let's go to things I noticed. Catherine, did you notice anything?
I noticed a lot, but I can tell you there are 2 things I really noticed: the songs, the Gaelic songs in the
Mhm.
beginning, and also just lended some authenticity to the whole story, which I noticed. And then the similarities between Ellen personality and mannerisms and Jenny's personality and mannerisms from Outlander. I
Interesting.
don't know if it was intentional or not, but there was a lot of similarities.
Okay. I didn't pick that up. I thought her voice sounded very much like Leary,
Mm,
strangely.
Oh,
mm.
interesting.
I'm glad I didn't, because it would have annoyed me.
Would have taken you to
Sorry.
another place.
Sorry that maybe you'll forget about that by the next episode. Oh, I want to mention the when she rides the horse to meet Brian, and she's cantering, uh you can see that the horse is kind of like because she's going over pretty rocky terrain and a horse doesn't want to canter over something like that. It wants to go to a trot. Oh, so that it doesn't like its
Or
foot
ankle.
on the rocks. I noticed she said, "Where do we go from here?" which felt very present day, like a too modern of a something to say. I don't feel like they
Phrase.
would have said that in the 1700s.
So one of the things that crossed my mind, while it was very dramatic, I couldn't really think that they would bury their laird out on the moor like that with his sword sticking in the cairn where it could be plundered and his grave plundered for his silver brooch, and whatever else that he might have had on. Most of the people in the 18th century Scotland were buried in kirk yards,
Yeah.
churchyards. They weren't buried out on the moor, and so I felt that. I mean, it was dramatic, the procession and everything, but I just don't think it was probably very realistic. Then another thing that I noticed is that there were several times that the woman playing Mrs. Fitz sounded just like Annette Badland.
Yeah.
And also Brian sounded like Jamie, said like Sam several times too. I was like, my gosh, their voices even sound, even though they don't look that much alike, their bodies are fairly similar, but
Ooh. Oh, that's episode 2. Sorry.
well, we did hear Brian speak in episode 1, so I'm saying there were several places there.
You said
Well,
that.
he's got the height.
Yeah.
What I noticed was the casting and how well it just seemed like it was that. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it's very believable that the woman who played Ellen and the man who played Brian could easily produce a child that looked like Sam, who plays Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just very, very well cast. The other
I
thing
don't
I did
know.
notice was the color of her hair changing. Like when she started off, it looked brown, and then all of a sudden it got very red towards the end.
Ellen's.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I think she might be a real redhead. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you saw my post on the premiere, but I said
I read it. It was well done.
Catherine, thank you. I said Catherine often comments about what a good job casting does on resemblance, and this is no exception. It's uncanny that they
It's
can
very
do
much.
that.
Even with the younger versions of the older characters in Outlander, it's very believable.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Ed Gowan, for example, he was.
Oh my gosh. So cute.
Oh.
Okay, so I noticed that Lord Lovett has the Fraser nose.
Hmm.
I noticed that Brian is hot.
Mm-hmm.
Myrta is charming and adorable. And um, another scene that I found kind of like, what did Brian say when we first see Julia as the maid coming in, and in the live screening we were all like, but Brian says she doesn't yet know your ways. First of all, I don't think that would stop him in the least.
Mm-mm.
But he goes to stand up and say something like, allow me. What is he saying there? Is he saying, let me have sex with her? Like, what is he saying?
I thought he was saying, allow me to explain his ways, is what I thought he was.
Like what? Like my dad sleeps with whoever he wants to. In fact, that lady
Yeah.
over there is my mom.
Well, he wasn't the only one. I mean, Jacob died mounted to a, he was mounted on a
A maid.
chambermaid.
Yeah. But
Yes.
so that's what you guys thought that he was like,
That's what
let,
I thought.
let me
I,
tell her what that means or
no, I
I think
thought
he
that
was just
was,
trying to say anything to stop him from bothering.
I wasn't sure what that meant either.
yeah.
But I'm going to watch it again with my husband, and I'm going to see if I can figure that out and pay more attention to it. Um, what the dialogue was preceding that between Lord Lovett and not Claire, Julia. Another thing I noticed was that
Okay.
Jacob says to Ellen, "Both of your sisters are married." She has three sisters. He doesn't say two of your sisters married and one isn't. He says both your sisters are married. What about the other one?
Well, who are the sisters?
The
There's
one that
four.
went after Murtaugh, I think, was the other one.
There's
Well, that's
four. Well,
Jocasta.
that's Jocasta.
Jocasta, and she is married to a Campbell, right?
Yep. But hold on,
Was
I've
it
got them
after
written
that though?
down.
Because one of the sisters that was shown walking to the grave was Column's wife, Letitia.
In the middle.
Yes, yes, it was Letitia. But um, where have I got that? I wrote that down. There are four daughters.
Oh, I didn't
There's
realize that.
Ellen's the oldest. Jocasta
Oh,
is the
Janet,
youngest.
right? Isn't there a
Janet,
Janet?
and then there's another one who almost we hear nothing about. Um,
Hmm.
what was her name?
So, who wants to go first for medical and anatomical?
So the only thing I noticed right off the bat was how colorful the dead
Body
uh,
was?
yeah. I was like, he seemed awfully colorful for someone who's not
Yeah,
living.
I
But
could
Yeah.
swear I
the
saw
color
a vein
seemed,
full of blood too.
yeah, it's like he seemed rather, ruddy.
Animated.
hmm and then the only other was just trying to remember what it was that gave color the limp and why it worsened from when he was that age to when he got older, but I couldn't remember and I didn't have time to look it up.
Oh,
I think
it's the
it's
same.
Toulouse-Lautrec syndrome,
Yeah,
right?
Toulouse-Lautrec syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
It's
genetic.
clearly something degenerative. I'm not.
Yeah, it's genetic based, but it's degeneration of the joints and the bones are easily fractured and they don't heal back normally. And there's some connective tissue problems with it too, I guess. So it's a really terrible um, disability.
So, Carmen is correct. The four daughters are Ellen, Janet, Flora,
Flora, that's it.
and Jocasta.
Yeah,
Oh, so they just chopped out Flora, it sounds
I
like.
guess.
Okay.
I looked it up because I didn't know, but raspberry leaves have been used for centuries to treat women in labor. And it's claimed to shorten labor and to prepare the uterus for the contractions during labor. There have been a couple of studies involving it to see whether or not it really has that effect. And the numbers are so small, they didn't make really good conclusions from those studies.
My midwife had me drink that when I
Oh,
was
she
pregnant
did,
with
huh?
Quinn. Yeah. When I was getting close to being ready to deliver, I have no idea if it helped.
Um, I already said that the washing of the body and the sewing of it in the shroud is historically accurate. That was done. Another one is that Claire has no known siblings, but Julia is pregnant, so I brought that in, even though we mentioned it earlier.
But I did want to ask you about Dougal chopping the guy's fingers off.
Yeah,
I was like, is that supposed to be Archbug? But no, it wasn't.
no, it wasn't Archbug, but it was. I mean, that occurred in a different setting than that particular one, but I think it was to show how
Brutal he is.
brutal he is. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's like got slobber coming out when he's
yeah.
doing it. I mean, it was
It,
well
it,
done. And the guy he did it to did not have white teeth, which I thought was
Oh, he didn't
well
this time.
done.
Yeah.
The other thing was the way that he cut them off was realistic because he really had to press
Press
down with
hard.
his knife in order to cut them off. A lot of times they just make it seem as though you can go like this, you cut someone's
Like it's just, yeah.
yeah,
Like
that it's
cleaver.
really easy to do, and it isn't really easy to do. So that I thought that was fairly realistic.
Okay, should we go on to BTS then?
Sure.
Sure.
I thought it was interesting to look at the actors, which I learned a couple of things. And I looked up, so I'll just start with Jamie Roy, 6'1". He plays. I mean, isn't that crazy that the guy who plays Brian Fraser is named Jamie Roy, which is one of
It
uh,
really is.
Jamie's alias names that he uses as a
Yes.
smuggler? I mean, it's crazy. That's Outlander effect. He's Scottish from Glasgow. Was raised in Glasgow, and he is 6'1" and 32 years old. Lord Lovett, Tony Curran, is 5'10" and he's 55. Now, I just thought I would mention that Clive Russell, who plays the old Lord
Lord
Lovett,
love it.
is 6'6".
Yeah, he was a lot bigger than.
So Lord Lovett grew a lot over his life. Um,
Even after he wasn't supposed to.
exactly. Uh, Jeremy Irvine plays Henry Beecham, and he's English, and he's 6 feet tall, and he's 35. Rory Alexander is also English. So the guy who plays Murtaugh
Oh,
is English, and he's 6 feet tall. And this one really I didn't realize. Sam Retford, who plays Dougal, young
Google.
Dougal, is from New South Wales, Australia.
Hmm. But
And
isn't
he,
Dougal
But
the
he's likely
actor from New
Scottish
Zealand?
descent.
New Zealand?
well,
I'll bet he's
he's
Scottish descent.
probably,
He
yeah.
looks
I
like
But
mean,
it.
Dougal. Graham lives in New Zealand. I don't know. I don't think he lives
Oh,
there anymore.
he's not from New Zealand though.
No, no,
No.
he's from Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Um, but Sam is 6'2" and he's only 26.
Hmm.
And when you see him without that giant beard, he looks a lot younger. Um, Connor McNeil, who plays Ned Gowan, is
Mm-hmm.
5'1". He's
Oh,
Irish and he's 37. And
Hmm.
I think he does a great job at that role.
Yeah.
Seamus McLean Ross is Colum. He's 5'10" and he's Scottish. And then um, Harriet Slater, who plays
Ellen.
Ellen, thank you, is English and she's 30 years old. And Hermione Corfield, so it's not cornfield, even
Oh,
though I
it's
bet you historically it's cornfield and they left the N, they dropped the N at some point. She is also English from London and she is 31 years old.
What
So
role does she play?
she's the
she's
mother,
Julia
Julia.
Oh,
Beecham.
okay.
Anyway, so that's some little BTS on the acting clan there.
When Murtaugh kills the boar at the Tinchel, he did it with a dagger. Single-handedly, he killed the boar, and as a reward, he was given the tusks of this boar, which were double circles in the book. They're not in the show, but that's why it showed the boar tusks. And then he makes bracelets for Ellen out of them.
Hmm.
And that appeared back in, was it the episode The Search? I think it was when she's wearing them. But in the book, and
He gives them to Claire in the search, I think.
I think Jenny gives them to her. In the book,
Oh,
Jamie
right,
gives
right,
them to
right.
her, and
Yes.
then
No, you're
he
right.
sees her wearing them, and he tells her the story.
You're
But
right.
in the book, it's McRannock
Mm-hmm.
that tells Claire that the story about Murtaugh having killed the boar, and these were his wedding gifts to her when she married Brian. So that's a little bit of background that I had that I wanted to share.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Mackenzie was a real snake in real life.
Okay.
He seized Castle Leoch from Donald Mackenzie and married his wife Anne. And then she bore him 6 children, and that would be where Ellen and her siblings come in. So she was already married. Donald met an ill-timed fate. Now, I don't know if that's in real life or if that's in the books, but anyway, that's the backstory um, behind how Jacob got Castle Leoch. He didn't come into it legitimately. He seized the castle
So
when.
is this history or
Well, I'm
fiction?
trying to remember whether it's history or
Okay.
fiction,
Okay.
so I better be careful about that. A bladier
Oh, yeah, thank you.
is a spokesperson or advisor. It isn't the same as a solicitor. I
Okay.
thought, it must be the solicitor, but apparently it's not. And
Yeah.
then Mrs. Fitz married Murtaugh's uncle.
Okay.
So Murtaugh and Brian are cousins.
Okay.
So
Oh. Yeah, how are they cousins?
um well, Murtaugh's a Fraser.
Right.
Murtaugh
He's a
Fitzgibbon Fraser.
Fitzgibbons Fraser, so
Yeah.
she married. So, okay, anyway, they're related.
Yes. They're cousins. I don't know exactly how.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm sure
bought their
somebody will
chemistry.
listening who
I bought their chemistry as good friends too. And
Yeah.
I wrote this in the you were saying that Catherine, that Brian's believable as Jamie's relative, or one of you guys was saying that.
Mhm.
At the premiere there was, you know, I was in the photographer section, and they were like, they say all this silly stuff to the actors, like, and a big smile here, and now a wave, and can you give me this? And there was this one woman, and
Mhm.
she was like, okay, and now give me the sexy smile. And Jamie Roy
Mhm.
said, well, was it no sexy before? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's that Frasier humor right there. Super, yeah, it was funny. So, okay, let's go on to favorite lines. Catherine, do you have any?
Yes. My favorite line was when Jacob said to Ellen, "A Mackenzie you are, and a Mackenzie you'll always be." I don't know why that just stuck with me. Uh,
Mm,
And it does kind of play out throughout all of the book because that's sort of it's a line that runs through the history because her being a Mackenzie.
yeah. Okay. I'll do. You're no too old to be lashed for an insolent tongue. You'd better remember who you are and who you're not.
Mm.
That
I
was
was like,
really
oh
nasty.
my
Wow,
gosh.
that was so nasty.
And
Mhm.
he's so well delivered. I
Yeah.
thought Tony Curran really slowed down the scenes that he was in, kind of like Lauren Lyle does, that just pacing, and it
Mhm.
it didn't
Mhm.
drag, it just made you pay
Mhm.
attention that much more. Like, that was just delivered as in such a brutal fashion.
Mhm.
I liked Ellen's comment, true freedom, that her father taught her that true freedom is the ability to think.
Mm,
There's an awfully lot of truth in that. It might not be everything, but it's a lot. It accounts for a lot,
yeah, that is a good one.
especially for a woman in that time, by the way. And, you know, Claire proved it through all of her escapades. And now her mother is doing the same thing.
Also makes sense why Claire's behavior wasn't jarring to Jamie, because that's who his mother was as well.
I agree. It's a good point.
Yeah, yes. I mean, Jenny and his mother.
Yeah,
Mhm.
both.
Yeah. Okay, I liked how the conversation between Mrs. Fitz and Myrtle. She says, "She's a lady and you're no gentleman." And he goes, "Maybe I can only see her." And she says, "Then close your eyes
Yeah,
or cast them
that
in
was,
or cast them in the other direction." Very
yeah.
Mrs. She played Mrs. Fitz, so well. I felt like her voice and her inflections and her delivery, you could really see that that was a younger Mrs. Fitz for me.
Well, uh, uh, a line that really struck me, just shocking, was when Ellen's dad, Jacob, leaned forward and said, "If only you had a cock." And that's
Mhm.
already been mentioned, but it was so telling because she had everything else that
Yeah.
would have made, she would have made a great laird, but she didn't have the genitals that she needed. And that's been going on for, I won't get into it, but I mean, that's what women have been dealing with from time immemorial. And I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
Her face was priceless when he said it too.
Yeah,
So hurtful,
Yeah.
so hurtful
And
to
he didn't
have her
even
dead.
mean it that way, but of course he had no clue how that
Yeah,
landed.
yeah.
And it seemed like he was kind of drunk when he said that anyway.
Yeah, he was.
I also noted when uh, Lord Lovett says, "I can't imagine they'll choose the lame-legged one, or his brother whose cock'll be the death of him one day." Like that guy.
He says one can't walk, one can't think.
Yeah.
He's, he wasn't tender. Tenderness wasn't his strong suit.
Wait, I think that was Red Jacob who said that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But
yes,
this
he
was
did say that.
this was Lord Lovett who said this other thing.
Which one
Yeah.
was that?
One can't think, and one can't walk, and one can't think.
No,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's uh Red Jacob says that. Lord Lovett says, "I can't imagine they'll choose the lame-legged one or his brother whose cock will be the death of him one
Yeah,
day."
that's right. He does say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Call him saying, "My father's dead, and so is his word."
Whoa.
That was really like, oh man, that would be a punch in the gut if you were on the receiving end
Well,
of
it was a
that.
punch in the gut to Ed Gowen. You saw
Yeah,
the
yeah. That was a good line.
Really well delivered too.
Yes.
He
It
made me think of
chillingly,
he made me think of the guy who played Caligula, or
Mhm.
what's his name? You know who I'm talking about.
yes. Jeremy?
Not Jeremy Irons. It was
No,
um,
Jamie.
Mm,
I know who you're talking
older
I'll
about.
think.
actor. I
Yeah,
remember. I mean, he was like old classical.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Peter. Is it Peter or something?
no.
I've got to look it up because it's going to bug me otherwise.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of others that I'd like to share. One is Jacob saying, "I have no intention of dying soon," he says as a reassurance to Ellen.
Mm,
Well, who does plan their
yeah.
their, their death? Nobody intends to do that unless they, decide to end it all.
Yeah.
Uh, but I thought that was an interesting um, sort of forewarning of what was to come, because his untimely death, he was mounted on a maidservant.
Well, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix is who I'm thinking about.
Oh,
Who?
Joaquin
Joaquin.
Phoenix.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He does
He
look a little bit like
he
him.
reminds
Yeah,
me of
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also like Jacob's statement by the stream. Your skirt and bodice tells us what is expected of you. But this, he called it a plaid, but he meant plaid. They say plaid in those days. Tells a different tale. Wear this plaid as an armor. And I thought that was a really good advice from her dad to his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the just out of curiosity, was the brooch he gave her the same brooch that Murtaugh gave to Jamie when he got married to Claire?
I think it was good. That's a good catch.
It was the same one that they tried to pin on him at Jamie at the gathering, wasn't it? That was the Lucerno no non uno or whatever.
Oh.
I
But remember
I shine not burn.
Murtaugh had one in the stable and he like shines it up. I don't
And he was
know.
talking about Claire's smile at the time, like his mother, talking about
Yeah.
Ellen's smile and Claire's smile.
Wasn't that the Fraser
Yeah, that would have been the
pin that
Fraser
he
one.
would the brooch that
Yeah.
he used?
I don't know. I just was wondering. I'll go back
Mm.
and look.
I think
Yeah.
Carmen's right that it's the one they tried to pin on him and he said I can't do that because
Yeah,
that's
he
not my
drops it in the
clan.
bucket and he says, "I
Mhm.
can't do this."
Interesting. Be interesting to see if it's the same. Okay, let's do standouts.
Okay. Standouts. The character continuity in terms of characteristics of the which I kind of were combined, that and their resemblance to
Mhm.
future.
Yes. I had the ensemble because I just thought everyone did
Mhm.
such a great job of acting.
I thought the costuming was really, really good. Ellen's outfit was to die for with that
Yes.
belt and, and that long uh, tunic with the peplum on the bottom of it. I mean, she just looked so formidable in that outfit. I just thought it was gorgeous. I just thought the costuming was very well done, just all the way around.
What really stood out for me was how much I missed the characters. They didn't let you know right away who the characters were. And it's interesting how the shift in attitude towards the character changed when I found out who they were from,
Mm.
you know. So you're
It
just
mattered
watching this
more.
guy, you're like, maybe think it's Ed Gowan, you probably think it is, but when you find out it actually is him, then it's like, oh, or like the like the little boys,
Mrs.
you
Fitz.
know, you know,
Angus and
and
Rupert.
Mangus and Rupert, and
Yeah.
then and even their sizes, like the little one and and then just really just everyone, because even the beginning when Brian and Murtaugh were interacting with one another, it wasn't clear who Murtaugh was until um and who was it who came out and said something to him that about called him, said come and eat.
I think that's his mother.
Oh, okay.
Davina Porter.
Oh, really?
That's her name. Yeah.
That's
Wait
the
a
one who
second.
does,
That was,
isn't she the one who does the voices for the book?
yeah, it was
Yeah, I mean
Diana
it's
was paying homage to her by naming Brian's mother Davina Porter. If you
Oh,
go,
Mrs. Porter.
yeah,
Okay.
Mrs. Porter. He refers to her as
Oh,
Mrs.
okay.
Porter. So, yeah,
Yeah.
her name is Davina Porter.
Okay.
Now I'm sure it's a a nod of the hat to
mm-hmm.
Davina, who is the Audible reader or has been.
Yes.
I guess she's retired now, but she did a gorgeous job of that.
Okay, I will mention Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
just gorgeous. And the cinematography, I guess, that's all.
Mhm.
So I agree with that. The countryside scenes of Scotland, the reminder of the beauty of that area, the music that, but the cat and the casting, all those were three for me. I thought particularly Julia.
Mhm.
I said cornfield, but it's Corfield.
Yeah, dry
Discussion
humping.
with her
No, I'm
husband
kidding.
in the car when she's talking about,
Yeah,
the raspberry leaves, and did you know this, and did you know that, and so forth. And her look that looks
yes,
very much like Katrina. Ellen, the casting of Ellen, Harriet Slater, Myrta, Rory, and Jamie Roy Bryan are four just outstanding ones. I like many others too, but those
yeah,
really, really did it for me.
yeah.
Um,
I would add Tony Curran to that. Um, Lord Lovett, I thought he slayed.
You're right. He was really. I just forgot to find his name because I
Yeah.
didn't know what his name was.
Okay, let's do big themes.
I felt the big theme was like an overall arching theme was wisdom and that calmer heads would prevail. And it just seemed like
Good.
that was the case across the board.
Hmm.
Or at least that was the attempt at what was happening.
Yeah. I'm trying to think calmer heads would prevail.
So Column and
Oh, yeah.
Ned were
Mhm.
one, Mrs. Fitz talking to
Ellen.
Ellen, and then even Brian to a certain degree.
Yeah. Versus Murtaugh,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, it just seemed like there was a um it just seemed like wisdom was like even when the first conversation between Brian and Murtaugh was saying like he doesn't need you don't need me to hold your hand and you know
And
it
I
just
don't need to go there
mhm.
because,
It just seemed like a lot it just seemed like the characters were who were wise were being allowed to shine in their wisdom, I guess is the best way of putting it. I liked it.
women were property. I mean, uh, yeah. Um,
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that would like it to go back that way too.
Mm-hmm.
well, they can kiss my arse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for quite some time, and still, I still remember when the laws were changed that a husband could not rape his wife. I remember when that
When
law.
I
I
was a
remember when that case
girl,
came through in the 80s, wasn't it? In the 80s?
mhm, when I was a
80s?
girl,
It
Jesus.
was in the 80s because it was since I came back. It was after I came back from Kenya.
Wow.
when I was a girl, the law enforcement would not get involved in a domestic dispute
Mm-mm.
because they felt the husband had the right to discipline his wife however he wanted to do it. Now, if he murdered her, yes, they would get involved, but he could beat her up and they would not get involved, Courtney. They would not come
Wow.
to her rescue.
Well, a lot of good that would do her to for him to get in trouble for murdering her.
Well, yeah, it wasn't about the lady. They weren't
Yeah.
interested in taking care of the lady, or they wouldn't have done it that way in the
I
first
mean,
place.
until recently, when they couldn't own property, they couldn't. Uh,
Yeah,
when I
they couldn't vote a
I
hundred
tried to
years ago.
liquidate my even
Less
recently
than
as
100
I tried
years
to
ago.
liquidate one of my retirement accounts, and I couldn't do it without Anthony's signature, even though it was from my job,
Yeah,
and I he could not explain to me why.
when I got my car and I got the title, they put my husband's name first, even though my name was I signed the contract.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
that's our mortgage lender who was a woman
Hmm.
was like let's don't put your name on the, the house.
Oh
Maybe
no,
she
your
was
name
trying,
needs.
maybe she was trying to
Oh, see, this
protect
is what
me.
I did. I put Anthony's names on the mortgage, mine's on the deed.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
That's how you do it. So.
So the big theme, I had two, but one of them that I came away with is time is a frenemy. It's both
Yeah.
a friend and an enemy.
Mhm.
And everywhere you looked, there were clocks, there were timepieces going on, that sort of thing. And I just think time was a big
Mhm.
character in this episode. The other one is family cannot be trusted when it comes to wealth and power after the death of a parent.
That's for sure.
Nope.
It causes more distress amongst families. So we've got our trust in place now.
Yeah,
Finally, it took a
that's
year, but it's in place and
wow.
all signed so that everybody knows exactly how we want it
We,
distributed.
we yeah, we had to do the same.
My husband's family actually did a really good job. Now, they didn't have a ton to distribute,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's like
Hmm. Well,
breaks
my
apart
mom,
people.
she's like giving us all her stuff, giving her stuff away now, and then um she has a will and all that, but she won't let us know it. We don't know what's in it. Obviously, there's too
Who's the
many of them.
executor?
More than who knows? She probably put me or my sister.
Yeah.
Um, my sister who takes care of her more
My
than.
mom has someone, then she gets disillusioned, she switches it, and then she gets
That's common,
disillusioned, then
Courtney.
she
I was
switches
just
it.
reading about that today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
No,
People
for us,
magazine, a woman whose mother kept, bouncing. You're in the wheel, you're out, you're in, you're out, and that's the
Well,
way
this
she
is
controlled.
executor, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
this is
Oh,
executor.
it is interesting to see how, Ellen told Colum in this episode that she would support him
Yeah.
Mhm.
as Laird. But then when he got by himself with Ned Gowan, he said,
Mhm.
we'll just use her as a
Oh no,
pawn.
he told her to her face. The reason I think the impetus for the reason she's going to run off with Brian is because he told her basically, when I become Laird, either one of us, we have full control over you.
Yeah,
I
the
think that
food you
other
eat,
part is
the
episode
clothes
2.
you wear, the luxury you've become accustomed to will all
Mhm.
be
In our control. So
in
I
our
think that was
control.
her thing. Like, well, if I there, I'm going to preempt it by taking control of my own. Said we have something more
Well, they do. They
What
start
an
more
to.
asshole.
valuable, more invaluable
I know.
than land
That,
or
that's right.
property
What an asshole.
marriage.
I
But
Well,
mean,
the whole
yeah,
time
he
though, I
really
was
was
thinking, I
acting
was
like an
watching this. Were
asshole.
you guys ever watching this the whole time thinking, God, they must have stunk?
I've thought that before, but I didn't on this one.
I did.
I did
Oh,
think Dougal looked pretty clean after his shinty game and his sex. Like,
mhm,
I'm sure he would have just thrown something on and
mhm,
but they did a good job of making it not easy to really root for either brother.
mhm. I don't think so. I don't like Cullum, but I didn't feel like I don't feel like he was acting out of character for his time. I think Dougal was just
That's true.
acting out of character as a character that was not, I don't think.
I thought he was a little
Too
too much.
overdone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then he was that way even in the original
Yeah, he
Outlander.
was.
Because like the whole
Uh,
game, like remember he was beating up Jamie throughout the whole,
yeah.
field
Yeah.
hockey.
And his whole rant about his wife when she died. I think this guy, Sam, was king off of
Hmm.
Dougal from, you know, season 1, and younger Dougal would be even less restrained. I
Hmm.
think that's where
I think
this
Yeah,
so.
this
I
character
agree.
came from. So,
Agree.
okay,
Okay.
guys, we did it. So let's do 2 and 3 next week.
All right.
I will watch them because now I'm hooked.
Okay, good.
I think you'll like episode 2. It
All right,
has a
well,
lot
in
of
fact, I'll probably
interesting
watch 2
things in
now
it.
if I stay awake at all. I mean, if I just like kind of laying in bed, not really doing anything, I'll probably watch it now.
Okay.
All right, we
Bye,
have
you
a
guys.
full week.
Have a great week.
All
Be
right.
You
careful.
too.
Be careful.
Oh,
Love
see.
you.
Love you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Oh, yeah. Me
Okay.
too. All
Love you
right.
guys.
Bye.